I think we should take a break. No calls, no messages. I just need time to figure myself out." She said it as if she were talking about a business trip, not the end of a 3-year relationship. Her tone was steady, calm, almost rehearsed, like she'd been waiting for the right moment to drop those words. I remember standing there, halfway between the kitchen and the living room, holding a coffee mug that had gone cold without me realizing. She wouldn't even look at me when she said it, just stared at the floor, twisting the ring on her finger. I wanted to ask why, but the question died in my throat, because I already knew the answer. People don't ask for space when they want to fix things. They ask for space when they're already halfway gone. She packed fast, too fast, like someone following a checklist they'd written days ago. Every drawer that closed, every bag zipped, sounded like the slow, mechanical ending of something I didn't even know was dying before leaving. She looked up, finally met my eyes, and said, "Please, don't contact me. Not for a while. I just need to breathe." And then she walked out. No hug, no tears, just quiet footsteps down the hallway, fading until all that was left was the low hum of the refrigerator and the clock ticking above it. That night, the apartment felt foreign. The couch still had her blanket on it. Her coffee cup sat by the sink with a faint lipstick mark, but everything else felt staged, like the memory of someone pretending to live here. I didn't text her, didn't call. She asked for no contact, and I took her at her word. Maybe a part of me believed that if I respected her silence, she'd realize what she lost. Another part of me, the one I didn't want to listen to, already knew that when someone asks for distance, they're not looking for clarity. They're building an exit. Days blurred together. I went to work, came home, ate dinner alone. Every sound in the apartment echoed too loud. The creak of the floor, the click of the thermostat, the hum of lights. It was the kind of silence that made your own thoughts louder. A week passed. No messages, no calls, just absence stretched thin across each hour. And then one night, as I scrolled aimlessly through my phone, something appeared on my screen. A notification, a Facebook tag. Her mother had tagged her in a set of vacation photos, and in that single second, the illusion of finding herself vanished. It was close to midnight. I was sprawled across the couch, the flickering light from the TV painting faint gold streaks on the ceiling. An old show was playing, something I wasn't really watching. 10 days had passed since she said, "Let's take a break." I was getting used to the quiet now. No texts, no calls. Just the dull rhythm of someone pretending they were fine. Then my phone buzzed. A small sound, sharp, dry, cutting through the silence. I glanced at the screen. Linda tagged Emily in 3 new photos. I froze. Linda, her mum. The name felt strangely heavy after all those weeks of silence. For a second, I told myself it was probably something harmless. A family picture. A holiday memory. Something innocent. My thumb moved on its own. The pictures took a while to load. Bad Wi-Fi. The little spinning circle kept turning, and my heartbeat matched its pace. Then, finally, the first photo appeared. A beach, sunlight, palm trees, and Emily, my Emily, in a white dress, smiling beneath a straw hat. Holding a cocktail dot next to her, stood a man I'd never seen before. His hand rested casually on her lower back, the kind of touch that leaves no room for misunderstanding. For a moment, I just stared, My first feeling wasn't anger, it was emptiness. I scrolled down, read the caption. So proud of my girl, she finally met someone who makes her laugh again. I read it again, and again. My hands felt cold, my chest tighter with every word. The next photos came like small, deliberate cuts. Dinner by candlelight. A sunset selfie with his arm around her waist. Her head resting on his shoulder. There was no misreading this. No excuse left to reach for. I sat there in the dark, the phone glowing in my hand like it was mocking me. The room around me blurred, shrinking into the sound of my own breathing. It wasn't heartbreak, not yet. It was realization. A slow, sinking kind that doesn't explode, just settles. A message popped up. Mark, my best friend. Hey, man, you okay? Please tell me that's not her. I locked the screen. Didn't reply. What could I even say? I placed the phone face down on the table. Silence again. But this time, it wasn't peaceful. It was the kind that burns. I sat there for a long time. The dark felt heavier than usual. The clock ticked, steady and cruel, slicing through the quiet. Eventually, I stood up and opened the window. The city outside was still alive, lights flashing, cars passing, people laughing in the streets. Life didn't stop. Not for me, not for anyone, and as the night air hit my face, I understood something simple and cruel when she said she needed space to find herself. She wasn't looking for clarity. She was making room for someone else, and the irony, the first person to break her no-contact rule wasn't her. It was her mother. One innocent tag, one happy caption. That's all it took for the truth to come crashing in. 2 days later, she texted me. Not from her old number, from an unknown one. No name, no photo. Just a bare string of numbers that looked as empty as it felt. Her first message was short. I'm sorry. You weren't supposed to find out like that. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not angry, not heartbroken. Just cold, the kind of cold that sinks in when you realize the person who hurt you is calm enough to apologize. Her words weren't about guilt. They were about control. Like she wasn't sorry for what she did, only for how I found out. She didn't say I was wrong. She didn't say I hurt you. She said you weren't supposed to know this way. And that told me everything. I didn't reply, not because I didn't know what to say, but because there was nothing left to say. If someone can send an apology so casually after betraying you, they've already rehearsed the pain. They've already stepped outside the story where you still stand. That night, I opened our old messages. Hundreds of lines. Good night. I miss you. You're my safe place. They were all still there, perfectly preserved. Only now, they meant nothing. I wasn't rereading love letters. I was reading a script, one that ended long before I realized the last line had been spoken. She once told me I made her feel safe. I guess that's what I was, a quiet harbor to rest in. Before she sailed somewhere else the next morning, another text arrived. I didn't mean to hide it. Things just happened fast. I just wanted to find myself, and then it happened. I never meant to hurt you. I laughed, a small, dry sound that didn't feel like laughter. I typed, erased, Finally, I sent, it's okay. You found yourself, not forgiveness, just a closing statement, a clean, final line. She read it but didn't reply. Of course she didn't. Once someone has found themselves in someone else's arms, they stop looking back. That afternoon, Linda, her mum, texted me. "I'm so sorry, honey. I didn't know you two hadn't broken up yet. I thought it was over. I never meant to hurt you." I looked at the message for a while, then typed back, "It's okay. Now it's clear." And it really was. No need for confrontation. No shouting. Sometimes, the truth doesn't come from the liar. It comes from the person who accidentally tells the truth. That night, I stood by the window. The air outside was cold, sharp. The city lights glimmered below. People laughing, cars moving, life carrying on as if no one had ever been betrayed. I wasn't angry anymore. Just tired. Not tired of her, tired of myself. Of the version of me that still believed no contact was a pause for healing. In reality, it was a soft exit. A polite goodbye disguised as self-discovery. And the cruelest part, the first person to break no contact wasn't her. It was her mother. One innocent tag, one smiling caption, and suddenly, everything I'd been blind to stood wide open. No more lies, no confessions, just truth, quiet, sharp, uninvited. 3 days after her last message, she called. I didn't answer. The phone buzzed again, once, twice, then silence. A few minutes later, a text came through. "Can you please just hear me out?" I stared at it for a while. Didn't reply. 10 minutes later, another message arrived, longer, shaky, like someone typing while holding back tears. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Everything just happened too fast. I felt lost. He just showed up when I was vulnerable. I don't love him the way I loved you, I swear. I just needed to feel wanted again." I read it slowly, line by line. Every sentence was a small, deliberate cut. She was using loneliness as justification, dressing betrayal in softer words, hoping they'd hurt less. But pain doesn't fade when you explain it. It just becomes more precise. I didn't reply. Not out of anger, but because there was nothing left worth saying. When someone starts to rationalize their betrayal, they're not asking to be understood. They're asking to be forgiven. And forgiveness was something I no longer had to give. That night, she called again. I answered, not to listen, but to end it. Her voice trembled. "Hey, I don't even know where to start. I was so lonely. I never wanted to hurt you. I just wanted to feel something again. You were always calm, collected, and I felt like I was disappearing next to you." He made me feel seen. I let her speak. I didn't interrupt. Her words started to crack midway through. "I know it was wrong. I know I messed up. But being with him, it just made me feel emptier. I missed you. I still do. But I don't know how to come back, because I know you'll never look at me the same." I finally spoke, quietly, each word slow and deliberate. "You're right. I won't." Silence. I could hear her breathing, shallow, uneven. Then I said, calm, cold, but not cruel, "You didn't betray me in a moment, Emily. You betrayed me in stages. From the day you said you needed space, you were already leaving. You weren't looking for yourself. You were making room for someone else." She started crying softly. "Please, don't say that. You don't understand. I do." I cut in. "Perfectly. But understanding doesn't mean I'll accept it. You didn't break me because you fell in love with someone else. You broke me because you needed me to believe it wasn't your fault." Her voice was small, trembling. "I just wanted you to know I didn't mean for it to happen." I exhaled, eyes fixed on the dark window ahead. I know, but that's the thing, Emily. People rarely mean to. They just do. Because it's easier. She hesitated for a long time, then whispered, "Can you forgive me?" Outside, a car passed, headlights sweeping across my floor. I looked at the reflection of my face in the glass, calm, detached, unfamiliar. Then I said, "You don't need forgiveness from me. You need it from yourself." A few seconds of silence. Then I heard a quiet sob. "Take care of yourself," I said finally, and hung up. I didn't feel relief. Not sadness either. Just stillness, like the moment after a storm when everything is eerily quiet. I sat there, listening to the faint hum of the city through the window. I remembered all the times she cried and I reached for her. Now she was crying again, but I didn't move. Because some tears only fall for closure, not regret. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I missed her, but because I finally understood something. The cruelest part of betrayal isn't the act itself. It's when the one who betrays you still believes they deserve to be understood. And I did understand. That's why I could finally let go. A month passed after that last call. She never reached out again, and I never looked for her. Everything stopped exactly where it should have, in silence. But this silence was different. It wasn't heavy anymore. It was empty in a way that felt clean. Life settled into a new rhythm. Not the old one, not the one I had before her, but something quieter, slower, more deliberate. I still made coffee every morning, still sat in the same spot by the window, but now there was only one cup. And this time, I drank it all. Friends eventually found out. They wanted to get angry for me, wanted me to yell, to vent, to hate. But I didn't. Maybe because anger needs a target, and she wasn't part of my life anymore. All I could say was, "It's fine now." Sometimes Linda, her mum, still texted me. Small things. A picture of the cat her daughter used to own, a short message like "Hope you're doing okay." I always replied politely, short, kind, but distant. No bitterness, just closure. One evening, while cleaning my bookshelf, my phone lit up. A message. Her name. After more than a month of silence. "I don't want to bother you. I just wanted to know. Are you okay?" I froze for a moment, not because I was emotional, but because I felt nothing. No rush in my chest, no sting, no flash of memory, just calm. It was strange, realizing that someone who used to shake your entire world could now feel like a stranger's name on a screen. I didn't reply. I turned off the screen and kept organizing the books. A week later, another message. "I miss you." I smiled. Not bitterly, not with pain, just a small, tired smile, the kind you give when you finally understand that some things, once lost, can't be restored no matter how gently you try. I deleted the message. No hesitation. Life slowly took shape again. I started running in the mornings, leaving work early, having dinner with co-workers. On rainy days, I still thought of her, not the person, but the time, like remembering an old season, not because you want it back, but because it once existed. Then, one quiet afternoon, I saw her again, at a grocery store. She was with the man from the photos. They looked happy, casual. She saw me. For a brief second, her smile faltered, then she nodded. I nodded back. That was all. No words, no blame, no weight left between us. As I walked past, I heard her laugh, Not with me, but with him. And for the first time, it didn't hurt. It didn't sting. I smiled too. Not because I was over her, but because I finally understood some endings aren't meant to be tragic. They're just done. That night, I stood by the window again, watching the city below. Lights, cars, people, life moving on as if no one had ever loved or lost. And I whispered to myself, she found herself, just like she said, and I learned how to live without needing anyone to find me. Maybe that's what peace really is. Not forgetting, not forgiving, just realizing you don't need an ending anymore. I've grown used to the silence. Not the heavy kind that fills a room, but the kind that comes when you finally stop waiting. Every morning I make coffee, listening to the slow drip of water like a steady heartbeat. Sunlight spills through the window, touches the shelves, and everything feels ... ordinary. I don't think about her anymore. I don't try to forget either. I just live. And sometimes, living simply means leaving the past where it belongs. At night, I walk around the park near my apartment. I sit on the same bench, watching people pass by, couples holding hands, kids laughing, the rustle of leaves in the wind. Life moves forward, endlessly. I don't feel lost anymore. I no longer ask, why me? I stopped looking for reasons, because eventually you learn that some things don't happen to be understood. They happen to teach you how to let go. I started writing again, not for her, but for myself. Small notes, stray thoughts, sometimes just a few simple lines like, the weather was kind today, or I feel lighter than I did yesterday. Maybe peace isn't about forgetting someone. Maybe it's when remembering them doesn't hurt anymore. One evening, I met up with Mark. He looked at me and smiled. You've changed, he said. I asked, how so? He replied, you seem ... calm, like you finally put something down. I just laughed quietly. Maybe he was right. The memories were still there, but they'd lost their weight. They were no longer anchors, just pages in a book I'd already finished reading. Sometimes Linda still texted me. Short messages like, thank you for always being kind. I'd reply, I just did what felt right, and I meant it. I realized I had forgiven, not her, not Emily, but myself, for loving fully, even when the ending wasn't what I hoped for. One clear morning, I stood by the window, watching the street below, people hurrying to work. A kid riding his bike, sunlight slanting across the rooftops. I smiled, quietly, not out of joy, but from stillness. The kind of peace that doesn't announce itself, but settles softly where pain used to live. I've come to understand that love is just a road, and sometimes, when the other person stops walking, you still have to keep going. One day, you'll look back and realize you're no longer angry, no longer sad, only grateful that it happened at all. That night, I wrote in my notebook, not everyone who leaves is a loss. Some people walk away just to return you to yourself. And maybe that's what peace truly is. Not when everything is good again, but when you're finally okay, even if it's not. That morning, the sky was strangely clear. I woke earlier than usual, just as the first light climbed over the buildings across the street. Sunlight slipped through the curtains, painting the white walls a soft gold. I stood there for a while, quietly watching it, realizing it had been a long time since I'd started my day without that familiar heaviness. I brewed my coffee, listening to the slow, steady rhythm of water dripping. The smell filled my small kitchen. For the first time in months, peace didn't feel foreign. I wasn't trying to fill the silence anymore. I was simply living light, unhurried, unburdened. As I held my cup, my eyes wandered to the trees outside. Their leaves had turned amber, falling gently with each passing breeze. Some landed softly on the ground, others drifted far away, and I thought maybe people are the same. When it's time to go, you just let the wind take you. No holding on, no resentment. Later, I opened my old notebook, pages filled with messy, restless words written on sleepless nights. I read through them, and instead of sadness, I felt something like compassion for my past self. Each word carried pain once, but now, they were proof that I had survived it. Writing had been my way of bleeding quietly, one sentence at a time. At noon, I cleaned my apartment, folded the jacket she once left behind, placed it neatly into a donation box. There was a small gift from her, an old key. I didn't throw it away. I put it in a drawer, not out of longing, but because I believe some things that once made you happy deserve to stay, even if only as a reminder that you once had them. In the afternoon, I walked through the park we used to visit. The bench was still there, the one where we sat countless times. Now, only the wind kept it company. A young couple passed by. The girl laughed, leaning into the boy's shoulder. I smiled, not because I missed her, but because I saw myself in them. The version of me that once believed love alone could hold the world together. When I returned home, I found an envelope in my mailbox. It was from Linda, her mother. The handwriting was familiar, careful. She's getting married soon. I thought you should know. Thank you for being kind. I sat there for a long while, rereading it over and over. No pain, no surprise, just quiet acceptance. She had found what she wanted, and I had found what I needed, peace. That night, I stepped out onto the balcony. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of rain. Above me, a pale moon floated through thin clouds. Maybe somewhere out there, she was looking at the same sky from a different place, with a different heart. And maybe that was enough. I took a sip of cold coffee and smiled. Everything had finally settled where it belonged. No one owed anyone an apology. No one had to come back. I opened my notebook again and wrote slowly, deliberately. No one truly loses anyone. We just return each other to where we came from. I closed the book and leaned back. The clock ticked softly in the background, steady and calm. No more restless nights, no more questions with no answers. Just the stillness of someone who had learned how to stand alone without breaking. Before going to bed, I cracked open the window. A cool breeze drifted in, brushing against my face. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, not thinking of her, not missing her, just breathing. And in that quiet moment, I understood not every ending needs tears or drama or promises. Sometimes it just needs one quiet person brave enough to smile and whisper to themselves, I lived, I loved, and now I'm okay.